a second. Yeah, she asked me to post this. You see that?
Yeah.
So you can see my screen now, right? I
Yeah.
also I also posted this. The entire Bhaktisiddhānta Vaibhava. You notice the
Yeah.
running time 2 days. If you listen to the whole thing, it would take you 2 days, 48 hours. So that's just a little something
Yeah,
devotees
I
can.
have.
You got any pastimes from Bhaktisiddhānta?
uh, well, of course, there's those that most devotees are familiar with. Of course, Prabhupada's first meetings with him and Bhaktisiddhanta's instruction for Srila Prabhupada to present Krishna consciousness in the English language,
Yeah,
and
that
also
was.
also the print book
Did he
and
say
the
that the first time he met him? I think he said that later on.
well, the
Yeah,
what I recall his first meeting on the rooftop. Um, he looked at Prabhupada and immediately began to speak to him. Prabhupada thinking he doesn't even know me, and then here I am getting some instruction. A young, intelligent man who preached this message of Krishna consciousness, and then Prabhupada later on challenged him in regard to the state of India and how no one would listen to people as long as they were not liberated. Bhaktisiddhanta refuted that argument, and then Srila Prabhupada was very impressed with that.
Yoga Dave's on from Costa Rica. How do you vote?
Bo Yoga Dave.
He's got his got his microphone on. There you are. How about? Can you hear me?
Yeah, Haribo. Sorry, I'm
Good
not
morning.
digitally.
It's actually like 6:30 in the morning, right? Over there?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
but I don't have internet, and my data's really struggling. So but anyways, please continue. I didn't want to interrupt. I'm just glad I made it.
Yeah,
Bo Yoga Dave.
thanks for showing up. This is Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati's disappearance day.
Oh, okay.
And so um, I posted something in New Vrindavan Village Connect. They're going to have a Pushpanjali offering at noon. And I posted my entire audiobook reading of a 3 volume set of his biography, the Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhava, which is an awesome book. But continue. Devananda was just talking about some of the early pastimes with Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta. Go ahead, Devananda.
Well, I was for Yoga Dave's benefit here, just recalling how Srila Prabhupada received his first instructions from Bhaktisiddhanta to preach in the English language and also to print books. But I also recalled some um, early activities of Bhaktisiddhanta where he made a vow to chant 1 billion names of Krishna. And if I'm correct, it took like 7 years, and he would just stop once a day for a little bit to eat. So talk about an austerity.
I have
other
a
than that,
past
right now,
I have
go
a
ahead.
pastime from Bhaktisiddhānta's early times when he was a child.
Hmm.
He had a mango
Hmm.
and without offering it, and his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, chastised him, and he never ate mangoes for the rest of his life.
Hmm.
He swore that off.
And one time a garland from the deities fell on his neck. I don't recall which deity it was.
It was Jagannath. The Jagannath procession was coming right in front of the Bhaktisiddhanta's house, or
Hmm.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house. He was a magistrate in Jagannath Puri. And so it stopped unexpectedly, and they brought the baby. The baby came out. I don't know if they which came first, but the baby was like there in front of Jagannath, and the garland fell off Jagannath and landed on the baby, I think. And so that was like a sign.
Hmm.
You really don't know who these personalities are, you know. That's why you have to be very careful with devotees, you know, no matter where they are, who they are. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
what's that?
No, no. Lord's in everyone's heart, and if you disrespect anyone, especially one that you don't understand where they're at, their connection, it's not good, right?
Yeah, I remember being in a kirtan once out in front of the Yogashala, in front of the temple, or Yogashala, they call it.
Hmm.
It's at like four-pillared um, gazebo in front of the temple complex there. Chakravarti used to have kirtans with his little Casio recorder. You know, it was pretty funky, you know. Uh, it would go like dun 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 dun, you know, like, and then that was back in the 80s, you know. But the despite that, the kirtans were so ecstatic that when you look around and you see the devotees, it's like uh, you don't know who these devotees are, but you have appreciation that Krishna has a special relationship with every single devotee in this kirtan. And so therefore you have kind of like an awe and reverence to understand that this has been going on for, you know, lifetimes. And so we have to actually humble ourselves in front of devotees, especially when they're chanting in that setting, in order to appreciate Krishna will give his mercy in a mass kirtan like that, you know. The chanting is the Yuga Dharma, you know, so but especially it's more powerful when congregationally chanted, you know. Then in Lord Chaitanya has empowered all of his uh energies in the holy name. You know, there's my name is Shikshasaka, so I kind of know that verse. But there's another translation of that verse, which is very beautiful. And because it contain Lord Prabhupada's translation is all glories to Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditioned life of repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. And then the Gaudiya Math translation is the holy name of Krishna cleanses the mirror of the heart and extinguishes the fire of misery in the forest of birth and death. As the evening lotus blooms in the moon's cooling rays, see, the lotus blooms at night, the evening lotus, and the moon is gives nourishment to the flowers. So when as the evening lotus blooms in the moon's cooling rays, similarly the heart uh, the heart blossoms uh, in Krishna's love. And it says, I think, whatever uh, the heart is conquered and subsumed by the ever increasing ocean of ecstatic joy, which is conquered by the holy name, in so many words. I can't remember exactly that translation, but I just love that analogy of the lotus flower and the in the moon's cooling rays. That's one thing that Prabhupada, he just said the benediction of Krishna consciousness is ever increasing, but it's actually the literal translation is the moon nourishes the lotus flower and it blooms as a result of that. So I thought that was nice. So, have any other pastimes, Devananda, of Bhaktisiddhānta?
Well, there was the incident where his life was threatened and one of his disciples took his place on the in a vehicle. Bhaktisiddhanta was supposed to appear somewhere, and one of his disciples went in his place. But
Was it
no,
like a body double?
yeah.
I heard that the constable in that area was alerted, or I mean, he actually no, they tried to bribe the constable, and the
Mm,
constable had like a kind of a little bit of conscience,
hmm
because he figured, it's not worth it for me to get a bribe just to kill this sadhu. He realized he was a sadhu, and so he alerted Bhaktisiddhanta in
mm,
order to um, warn him. You just better take care, so
hmm
the reason why they tried to kill him because he was so uh, strict. One of his pranam mantras is um, it's about Rupa Goswami. He says he doesn't tolerate any deviation from um, the instruction of Rupa Goswami. So he was known as the Lion Guru, and he would go after anybody. He was trying to establish the Dharma at that point, and after Narottam Das Thakur, um, for hundreds of years, there was all these apasampradayas that were springing up all over India that were deviations. The Ganaranga Nagaris and Smarta Brahmanas and all these offshoots of Lord Chaitanya's movement, and he wanted to um, actually stop all that. And so he would preach very strongly.
hmm
That's why they called him the Lion Guru.
hmm
And so the people that were preaching, the Prakriti Sahajas, the people that take Krishna consciousness very cheaply, the material affection, they imitate, Prakriti Sahaja means like the people that imitate um, the rasas of Krishna and the gopis, and it's kind of like the Gopi Bhava Club, but it started in ISKCON, and Prabhupada quashed that too. So Prabhupada was actually very much following in the footsteps of Bhaktisiddhanta, and he used the tactic called the chopping technique. You preach very strongly, with an axe in one hand and the Bhagavatam in the other. And he would preach like, and nobody, not even his beginning disciples, even his neophyte disciples, nobody was willing to even talk with them because they were so, uh, you know, in line with Guru Sadhu and Shastra that nobody dared even speak with them because they were afraid. And so his enemies tried to kill him. And Prabhupada said also, I think, that if they knew what I was saying, they would try to kill me. But Prabhupada, I think he made a deal with Krishna. He said, like, kind of protect me so that I don't have to suffer all this, the slings and arrows. Did you ever hear that, Devananda? That
Mm,
Prabhupada, he
I
kind of
never heard
like,
that last part.
yeah, I think, Prabhupada said if they knew that what he was actually saying, he would be killed.
Oh, I've
But
heard that before.
yeah, I've heard that. But I also heard that Krishna kind of protected him. I don't know exactly what the reference is, but um, it's kind of amazing that he uh, went through life unscathed,
Hmm.
and lived to a ripe old age. Bhaktisiddhānta, on the other hand, he died at the age of 62 in
Hmm.
1936. So, all of us, three old guys in this Bhagavatam class here, we're like fossils compared to him, and the fossils are ready to go extinct. So it's like Das used to say, I got to get a day planner, man. I got to get my life together before the end, because it's like, old age is like a drain. You see the water going round and around and around faster and faster, whether it's a sink or the toilet. And as it reaches the end of the pipe, it gets fast, and you realize that it's actually happening really, really fast. And it's the yellow light before it turns red. So that's what we have to deal with at this point. So maybe we'll become serious toward the end of our lives here, because probably, you know, who knows when that's going to happen. Could happen anytime, but Prabhupada said that even young, especially young people, they don't take birth, death, old age, and disease very seriously. You know, got any other pastimes of Bhaktisiddhānta, Sarasvatī, Devananda?
Not that I can think of, no.
Yeah, I mean, Prabhupada, for the first time he met him, he had to actually uh, drag, be dragged by his college friend. They were both wearing a Gandhian outfit. Like you were talking about yesterday, Devananda, that simple living and high thinking. Uh, Gandhi had this civil disobedience movement in India. Prabhupada was a follower of Gandhi. And so, because he was like a college student, and that's what college students do, they get political. Uh, so he and his friend were both wearing the Gandhi cloth, because the Gandhi had started a movement not to wear British woven cloth because they had a monopoly, you know, and so they were, we wanted independence, so they were kind of like advertising themselves as Gandhians. So when Bhaktisiddhanta asked them, you two are both intelligent young men. You should preach this Krishna consciousness, Lord Chaitanya's movement all over the world. And Bhakti you know, Abhay Charan at that point, his name was, he was taken aback. It was like a pretty bold statement. And then he felt he had to say something because he was wearing the cutty cloth. And he said, well, who will listen to your Lord Chaitanya's movement if we're still under subjugation from England? And Bhaktisiddhanta said in so many words, these things are not important. The most important thing is Krishna consciousness. He totally defeated him and pointed out the most important thing. He said, the only problem in this material world is the lack of Krishna consciousness. That's the only problem. And all the problems of the world can be solved by that one principle. If you just get at least 1% of the population to become Krishna conscious, the entire world will change. So that is the goal of Krishna, this movement, which is, uh, we have to carry it forward. on behalf of disciplic succession. It's a very, very uh, sacred task coming in this line. Can you imagine, all of the acharyas going back to Lord Brahma himself 150 trillion years ago? This chain of knowledge has been passed down exactly the same from teacher to student, and we have to deliver it exactly the way it is. So it's a very responsible task, so we have to take it uh, very seriously. And as a duty, we have to represent the same thing. Prabhupada used to say, if somebody says, I think this, I think you should do this, and another guy says, oh, I think this, that. He said, in my opinion, this should be this. And Prabhupada said, there is no opinion in a guru, you know. If he says he has an opinion, he is rascal number one. Because Guru doesn't have opinion. He's simply taking the message as it is from the previous acharya and passing it forward. So when we're standing in front of Radha Vrindavan Chandra, or we're presenting Krishna consciousness from the books, this is not our knowledge. It's coming down. It's perfect the way it is, and we just have to find out, use our intelligence to present it properly on the impetus of a dynamic relationship with Krishna to others so that they can understand it. And that's what we're tasked to do. It requires some intelligence, but that's not our intelligence. The intelligence is given by Krishna. If we think that we're intelligent or more intelligent than the spiritual master, then we are immediately disqualified, and we're that's the sin of pride. You think you're better than the spiritual master. You think you're better than Sridhar Swami, even in Lord Chaitanya's time, anybody that would criticize Sridhar Swami, who was like the main, he was like the Rupa Goswami of Lord Chaitanya's time before Rupa Goswami was famous. And so I'm reading the Paramatma Sandarbha right now of Jiva Goswami, and he would always reference Sridhar Swami. So we have to follow in the line of these gurus and not deviate from it. And so that is the process that we are tasked, just to present it as it is. Prabhupada, when I was doing the Bhagavad Gita discourses, at the masthead on the top of the picture of whatever chapter I was reading, Prabhupada quoted, said, it's not that I'm manufacturing anything. This is Bhagavad Gita as it is. That's why Prabhupada wrote that subtitle to his book, Bhagavad Gita, as it is, because there's no interpretation. This is Bhagavad Gita as Lord Krishna spoke it to Arjuna 5,000 years ago. It's exactly the same because it's transmitted through a medium. And if we have our own interpretation of it at all, then we won't have the power to transmit it. So purity is the force. It's like Kirtananda used to say, it's like the disciplic succession and the way you present Krishna consciousness. If there's any resistance in the wire from yourself to the spiritual world, then it will heat up. But if there's no resistance, then it will just flow. The energy will flow all the way through you, and you'll be able to connect with people because it reaches their heart. So that's my realization, is that we can't add anything. We can't like have any kind of motivation, unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service, causeless devotional service. Krishna has his causeless mercy, and unless he gives it to us, unless we act in such a way that he will give it to us, then we're not eligible to present it. We have to wait because we have to listen to that still small voice, like it says in the Bible, for Krishna's message to come through. And patience, also Kirtananda said, patience is a symptom of surrender. So if we're patiently wait for Krishna's instructions and listen to that still small voice in the heart, then we can act. Otherwise, we have no jurisdiction to act. If you're not basing your action and thought and deed and voice and your body, mind, and speech in actual dis connection with Krishna, if you're not going in according to the Shastras, like the Pancharatrika, like you're simply a disturbance in a society of devotees. So it's like the braying of an ass. Nobody wants to hear it. And so, does anybody else want to hear me who I'm braying like an ass right now? Or I mean, anybody want to
But
speak something like?
you said something that reminded me that Prabhupada talked about Gandhi. And he said Gandhi always carried the Bhagavad Gita with him, but when he spoke about the Bhagavad Gita, it really bothered him because he put his own interpretation instead of the direct teachings of Krishna.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, he
And
called the Bhagavad Gita was like a manifesto for peace or
yeah,
non-violence.
yeah, it was
It
more
wasn't at all.
political, wasn't
Krishna
spiritual.
was inciting Arjuna to fight. It wasn't at all. I mean, a non-violent non-cooperation movement. And so Gandhi, he warned Gandhi. Prabhupada personally wrote him a letter. His secretary probably just threw it in the trash. That you should get away from this type of. You should simply preach Bhagavad Gita and not get involved because otherwise your life will be in danger. Because he could see it, and he didn't listen to him, and of course, he got assassinated.
Speaking of getting dragged to the guru, and also principle of purity, when there was a horrific incident that took place during Bhaktisiddhānta's time, and that was when his guru passed away. Gorakishore Das Babaji had once told some of his disciples, out of great humility, that when he leaves his body, just take my body and drag it through Vrindaban. And or the Holy Dham. I'm not sure if it was Vrindaban or Mayapur. And so when Gorkishore passed away, disciples were literally considering this, taking his body and dragging it. Bhaktisiddhānta was furious and approached his godbrother and challenged him. And he said, whoever hasn't had sexual relations in the last 3 months, only that person can come forward and take care of Gorkishore's body. And no one approached. And then he says, or 3 weeks for that matter, and no one approached. And then 3 days like that. So he challenged them, and no one came forward. And Bhaktisiddhānta took care of Gorkishore Das's body.
That reminds me of Christ and the stoning of the prostitute.
Yeah.
That pastime where it says that those who are without sin may throw the first stone.
Mm-hmm.
So we always have to look at ourselves before we accuse anybody. That's one of the principles of the Bhagavatam as well,
Mm-hmm.
that you have all these mischief mongers that are creating all kinds of disturbances. And so, but if you accuse the mischief monger of
Breaking up.
some kind of malfeasance, you yourself, the accuser, is just as culpable as the mischief monger. That was
Breaking up.
I'm breaking up.
Yeah.
It's okay on my end, and I have bad Wi-Fi. I don't have Wi-Fi.
You don't have Wi-Fi. You have good cellular
Well,
service.
no, that's why it took me 10 minutes to get on the video. So, but I like to throw something in. I mean, I really appreciate this more than you know. I'm kind of on the verge of tears because, especially when you mentioned Chakravarti and said about the Shikshastra, the happiest I was, Chakravarti was always singing, you know,
Yeah,
and it's in my head. In fact, sometimes it's just a loop. It wasn't even a call and response a lot of times. You're just chanting the whole time.
right.
And we were, you know, with Rodnoth at the Rainbow Festival in Vermont back in the early 80s, I guess. And that's the happiest I ever was.
Oh yeah, those kirtans were ecstatic.
And it was all the time. I mean, you know, I was cleaning pots and cooking and being around all the devotees and singing all the time. And I don't have that here. And it's
Yeah.
really hard. And hearing, and when you, I'm sorry,
Well,
when
look,
you were
you always have,
re,
if you can't be there, you know, my video YouTube channel is called Sanjaya 4K Videography. Sanjaya was the uh, personal servant to King Dhritarashtra, and Sanjaya was a direct disciple of Vyasadeva. So he could see what was going on in the Battle of Kurukshetra, and he could relate to him exactly what was going on, exactly what Krishna was telling Arjuna. And so, because he had that mystic potency, we don't have that. None of our gurus can actually, we don't have the ability to see anything. So we have to use, in order to, especially on over long distances, in order to have association, we can have this association through technology. And
but it's not the same. No, no, it's
I
not
know,
the same.
I know it's not the
I
same.
mean, to be there and your heart's sharing.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then the kirtans too as well, you know.
Well,
Do you
yeah.
have kirtans there sometimes?
No, I mean, I'm by myself. I'm not even around people that speak English. You know, I mean, you know, my
Right.
workers speak Spanish
Well,
and
maybe
just
you'll be able to sell that place and go to
well,
a
I put so much into it and I made it so nice. I'm really praying that, you know, somebody wants to do a preaching center because it's really organized where I think good things could happen. So I'm kind of trusting Krishna
yeah,
because
you
things
just
have
pray about
happened
it,
for
and
this.
Krishna will just show you how to do it. You know, if you
And,
just
and, and
and then you can
just
be
ask.
an association of devotees the way you were before. You know, and take part in the kirtans. Chakravarti's still around. He's my Facebook friend. I think he's living in Germany.
Wow, I'd like you to send me his information. Maybe I
Yeah,
could
yeah,
get him to
you're
visit
on
here.
Facebook, so you know if
Yeah, I
you
don't.
can contact him and you know touch base. You know,
So Sanjay, you were talking about Sanjay. His power was so strong that even when Krishna revealed his universal form, Dhritarashtra was able to see it. Is that correct?
well,
Because he
Devananda,
was with Dhritarashtra explaining what was happening on the battlefield, right, Sanjaya?
yeah, he was, but I don't think that was uh, the same instance. I think maybe it was. I don't know, but like all the demigods could see. Anybody who had eyes could see.
Yeah, but
Dhritarashtra,
I thought Dhritarashtra could almost see what's happening because of Sanjaya's great great power. And I thought for sure, even though he was blind, that Sanjaya was able to transmit. You know, like
yeah,
very few
no,
people
not
could.
Dhritarashtra couldn't see anything. I
Right,
heard,
but through Sanjaya, through the third eye, and through that power, he was able to, you know, not only relating through words what was happening on the battlefield, he actually had visions of what was
I
happening. And
never
I
heard
thought
that
for
before.
somewhere
That could, you know, anything's
when I was reading
possible.
it that Dhritarashtra actually saw the universal form. I'll look it up. I have a Mahabharata
Yeah,
here that
send me that quote because you know I've read a couple different versions. I haven't read
yeah.
the whole Mahabharata, but I never heard that pastime before. It's really
I'll look
interesting
it up. I'll send it to you today, actually. I'm sure it's in
because
there.
like that's a big book, and
Yeah,
there's so many, just like Krishna, you have to give somebody the eyes to see it. They can't
yes.
do it on their own. Krishna gave Arjuna the eyes to see the universal form. Now, Arjuna wasn't really interested in the universal form because he was,
Oh, yeah, it blew him away. It blew him away, right.
yeah, and he was afraid actually,
Yeah, yeah, he just said, please, come back to, your original form,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
because he was in a loving relationship, but
Yeah,
I think Arjuna was impelled to do that because he understood that there would be people that would be fake Krishnas, like that claim that they're Vasudeva or something. So, if you claim to be Vasudeva, then show your universal form. Lift Govardhan Hill, you can't do that. So, like, and also you have to be mentioned in the scriptures in order to be a bona fide incarnation of Krishna. So unless it's like all these fake gurus from India, they'll say, I'm moving the sun, I'm moving the moon, and then they get a toothache and they have to go to the dentist. So what kind of God is that that has to go to the dentist? But yeah, I'll send you Chakravarti's information. Those were good times back then.
it was, if I could just live a couple of days from back then over and over again, I'd be just so happy.
Yeah, I mean, every moment is precious, so especially it says that lava matra, lava is an eleventh of a second. Eleventh of a second, lava matra. If you have that amount of association, it can change your life forever with a devotee because Prabhupada actually he would meet people in the airport somewhere, and they would only be there, in Prabhupada's presence first, and then Prabhupada would ask them to do something once you start a temple or something, and they do it. And that's the power of association of a pure devotee like that.
And you guys were around that heyday. I just remember the first time. I'm not